Hey, Shalom Israel, you on live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. And brothers and sisters tuning in, man. If y'all can like and share the class, let everybody know we live. I know we're getting started a little late. We're going to run for about 45 minutes. A quick breakdown concerning the law of the Most High and the science of life. All right, Shalom Israel, you on live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain Soccer War holding down the class line from Memphis, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have classes from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Your brothers and sisters tuning in. If you have family, loved ones, people you care about in the Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, get them in contact with the ISUPK. We have classes at 3000 Walnut Grove Road, Suite 215. Again, 3000 Walnut Grove Road, Suite 215, from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday through Friday, from 6 to 8 p.m. We like to do these classes and give brothers and sisters an opportunity to go into this book called the Bible, be able to gain the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Most High has placed there for us to be able to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on the earth. And there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, to learn that truth here in 2022. What we want to do tonight, man, I want to go into a breakdown concerning the law of God and the law of nature. And there's reason why is because there's a lot of people out there who, because they've never been taught the Bible correctly and they've never been made to understand the truth of God, void of the religious dogma that many of us have been taught in the church. I want to just take some time to go through briefly and show you some examples of how everything that you see in nature around you is governed by the law of God. And it's that reason that we as people should have to realize that we also are governed by the law of God. Just because you don't believe in the Most High, you don't believe in His laws, does not mean that they do not have an effect on you and your everyday life. And we're quick to receive answers concerning what's going on in our life from everywhere except from the source of God's truth, which is the Bible. You got people out there that believe in good and bad karma. You got people that believe in the zodiac signs, and depending on what time you were born and where the sun is setting in the sky, that's going to determine how things are transpiring in your life. You have some people who believe if they, make a sacrifice to a statue or pray to, the god of money, or set up a little altar in their room and pray to this god and pray to that god, that it can have an outcome and an effect on their life. But no one wants to pay attention to the words of the actual power that created the heavens and the earth that are in the Bible. And so this is going to be a series of classes eventually, but today I just wanted to go into showing you how the laws that govern nature are also the laws that come from God. First scripture we're going to get is Matthew chapter 5, verse 18. It's Matthew chapter 5, verse 18. And this is the New Testament. This is Jesus Christ speaking, and Christ is speaking concerning the laws of God and them being done away with. Here we go. Matthew 5 and 18 says, "For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled." Everybody understands? Christ said, until the heavens and the earth go away, God's law is still in effect. And here we are on the earth, and the sun and the moon still rise and set in the sky. The stars still come out at night. So what does that mean? That means that God's law is still in effect. God's law is what determines the sun and the moon rising and coming out, the stars shining in the sky, and then the sun coming back up again. to get that, we're going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1. We're going to start at verse 4. These are the laws that God erected in the earth. You understand? This is the systems that he put in place. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 4 says, one generation passes away, and another generation comes, but the earth abides forever. The sun also rises, and the sun goes down, and hasteth to his place where he rose. That's the cycle of the sun coming up and going down every day. Verse 6, the wind goes towards the south and turns about unto the north. It whirls about continually, and the wind returns again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor, man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What does this mean? All the things that you see taking place in nature, God has established them that way. So all the things that happen on earth in life naturally, though they are all apart, they're all governed by the laws of God. They're all governed by what the Most High established. Now, when it comes to mankind, when it comes to us as people, we've been given a mind, right? Which is a piece of God. And with this mind, we are able to think, we are able to create, we are able to determine for ourselves how we are going to fit into the system that God has set in place. And it is with that ability to think and that ability to reason and that ability to make decisions for ourselves that mankind finds itself in the most trouble. Because having that mind to think causes many to fall into a delusion that they have choice, that they have, the word I'm looking for, that there's a way they can live on this earth and not be bound by the laws of God. And that right there that thought is a perversion of the mind. It goes against and contrary to the reason why God gave us the ability to think and the ability to reason and the ability to determine for ourselves. You understand? Since Kapata, as I said, free will. It's not free will. Says people don't believe that they have free will. People believe that there's no consequences for their actions. And the reason why is because many people don't believe in the science of life. You understand? And let me explain what I mean by that. What I mean by the science of life is in everything in life. And this is, of course, this is what we learn if you look at the laws of nature. If you study nature, for everything, there is a cause and effect. For everything, there is action and there is reaction. For everything, there is a positive force and a negative force. You understand? These are basic fundamentals about life. Again, for every action, there's a reaction. And for every cause, there is an effect. And that is what the Bible, when you break it down to its simplest form, is the story of. It's the story of cause and effect. It's the story of action and reaction. It's the story of positive energies versus negative energies. Everybody understands? Now let me break down what it is that I'm saying, okay? God gave us his law when he established the earth. After he made creation, he established a system of how everything was going to work. He established that amongst man, there was going to be a right and a wrong, that there was going to be a system that would cause man to prosper and another system that would cause man to suffer. And that that progressing or that thriving and that suffering are all based on action and reaction. You understand? Now let's go ahead and get it in these laws. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Hold on. See something. Let me get Deuteronomy chapter 29. Hold on. Hold on. All right. I want to get. I'm looking at Joshua 1. Bear with me. I'm looking at Joshua 1. I don't want to get Joshua 1. I also didn't want to do Deuteronomy 28 neither. I was trying to get. Bear with me. That's right. I got it now. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. Give me Deuteronomy 30 and 15. All right. So again, the Most High established the earth with all of the systems that are in place. The sun goes up, the sun comes down. Rain falls out of the sky. Oceans flow into the river. I mean, the mountains flow into the rivers, flow into the lakes. Lakes flow into the oceans, or lakes flow into the streams. Streams flow into the rivers. Rivers flow into the oceans. Right. Then the condensation, the earth heats up. The water dissipates, turns into vapor, goes back up into the clouds. Clouds come back over the mountains, rain down again. You understand? Animals are born on the earth. They live life. They reproduce. Then they die and they go into the grave. There's a system for everything on earth. That system is governed by the law of God. We also are governed by the law of God, even though many of us don't understand how the law of God dictates our movement in our everyday life. And that's what I'm about to break down now. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. Remember, the science of life is very simple. For every action, there's a reaction. For every cause, there has to be a cause that results in an effect. And positive and negative energies are always charging one another. Everybody understands? So Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. It says, See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. In that I command thee this day to love the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou may live and multiply. And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in the land whither thou go to possess it. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land whither thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it. Everybody understands that. This is the cause and effect that governs all of our lives. The Most High established mankind with his law. And with the minds and the brains that we have to problem solve and to figure out complex, issues, and to be able to create and to be able to take our imagination and make it manifest. This mind has grown over time to cause us to believe that there are choices out here that go beyond life and death. They go beyond good and bad. When the reality is you only have a choice between life and death. If you choose good, That's the cause. It's doing good. What's the effect? You live. You choose to do evil, that's the cause. What happens? The effect? You die. That's life. Black and white. And if we realize that the science of life is black and white, then everything that we encounter in life will begin to make a lot more sense. When it comes to solving problems in your life, the solutions will begin to make a lot more sense. When it comes to figuring out situations and circumstances that you find yourself in, the answers to them will begin to make a lot more sense. Everybody understands? The law of the Most High governs the science of life. All right? Let me drop that. Moses set before the children of Israel life and death. We could choose to do good, we could choose to do bad. Everybody understands. And depending on what you choose, that is going to result. The result is going to be determined by what it is that you have enacted. Let me get let's get Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Hold on. All right, Galatians 6 and 7 reads, let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Verse 7, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. Simple science. Whatever you plant, whatever you put down into the earth, if you grow it and you nurture it and you water it and you watch over it, you are going to reap what it is that you have planted. It's very simple, black and white. You don't plant pumpkins and grow apples. You don't plant oranges and get zucchinis. Everybody understands? Whatever a man reaps in this life, it is based on what it is that you have sown. That's science. Whatever you put down, you're going to pick up. That's also God's law. Verse 8, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. If you have invested your life, if you've sown wickedness and covetousness and envy and jealousy and lying and cheating and stealing, then you are going to get the consequences of your actions. You are going to reap the same onto yourself. But if you've sown righteousness and obedience and fearing the Most High and loving your brother as you love yourself and dealing with your sisters and your brothers righteously and according to the law, then guess what? You will receive the blessings and the rewards that come with being that type of brother, being that type of sister. But bad things don't happen to good people. And good things don't happen to bad people. And what makes you good or what makes you bad is based on your obedience to the Most High. And that's important to understand, because oftentimes if your brain isn't fixated on the reality of life, if your mind isn't fixated on this truth of God's law, then you'll look at someone who wins $1 million and you'll say, oh man, they are blessed. Man, God is with them, man. They won the lottery, man, $1 million. But you're not seeing that what you think is a blessing is really something that's going to destroy this person. I think of all the people who I've known in my life who lived wickedly and who rejected the Most High and had nothing to do with him. And how much, because of they thought that their disbelief in God meant that they didn't have to worry about the consequences and repercussions that came from not obeying him. And they got money and doing it big and had cars and had wealth and had this and had that. And sometimes in life, things happen because the Most High wants to see who's going to be jealous of the sinner. Who's going to want to hate on the sinner because of their perceived blessing. And I've watched people get money, and I've watched money tear people apart. I've watched money ruin. I watched men who were completely happy and satisfied in their relationship get money and ruin their marriage because now that they got some money, bitch, you can't tell me nothing. I don't need you, hoe. You ain't shit to me. I go get me 4 more bitches. And because of this, because of that, he loses that woman, divorces her, which is against God's law. She leaves him, and now he didn't realize how much he needed this woman. Now his relationship with his children is failing. Now he don't got nobody in his life that he trusts. Now he blowing through all the money that he thought made him somebody. He blowing through it, and as that money begins to dwindle, now he don't have nobody in his corner. The woman who loved him is gone. His children have abandoned him. Now everything he thought was good, everything he thought came with this blessing of this money has dwindled away, and now he's got nothing. Not only does he have nothing, he's in a worse situation than he was before. He quit that job he had. No more money coming in. He ain't got no more health insurance. Ain't got no more health care. Getting sick. Can't go to the doctor. Can't get no treatment. He ended up losing his life. Why? Because he was blessed with $1 million. You think $1 million is a blessing when $1 million is a curse to someone who's not obeying God. I've watched people have loved ones who pass away and they get some inheritance. And the inheritance is the worst thing that ever happened to them. That family was tight and staying together as long as they was broke, as long as they was poor, man. They had each other. Going to work, doing their slavery, but you know what I'm saying, taking care of the family, get a little bit of money, and now you want to do designer drugs. Now you want to go and get high and you want to party and do A, B, and C. Now you're getting robbed. Now now people looking for you. Now you know what I'm saying, you done created beef in the streets for yourself because now you have access to something that you absolutely never should have ever had access to. But when you understand the science of life, it'll change your perception of situations and circumstances that you encounter in life. Knowing the basic principles of life will allow you to be able to understand the things that are going on around you. For every cause, there is an effect. For every action, there is a reaction. And in all things that are on the earth, there are positive and negative energies that are charging one another. Everybody understands? Read on Galatians 6 and 8. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. You understand? If you're reaping righteousness, if you're reaping good, if you're sowing righteousness, you're sowing good, then you just got to hang on for your season to ripe. The season to reap, the time for you to gather the rewards of all of your hard work and your blood, sweat, and tears, and your toiling and enduring ridicule and enduring disrespect and enduring people talking down on you and looking at you funny because you understand the science of life. Don't worry, this all comes around. What goes around comes around. Let's not forget, matter of fact, let's go ahead and get it now. Let's go ahead and get Psalms chapter 23. Understand? Psalms chapter 23. Again, this is the nature of God. This is what governs life on the earth. These words here and these examples show you just exactly what it is that I mean. Everybody knows Psalm 23. Everybody's familiar with the yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? That's verse 4. But let's read Psalms 23 and verse 5. Psalm 23 and 5 says, Thou prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. What do we call this here? You're someone who has enemies, and the day comes when you get to sit down and eat a glorious full meal in the sight of all of your enemies. Oil is poured on your head. In Hebrew culture, man, oil being poured on your head is a major, major thing. I know when they taught you this in Christianity, you didn't even understand the oil being poured, the oil being poured on David's head. The anointing on David's head means he was the king of Israel. It meant that he was the one chosen by the Lord. Today, when we get anointed in the ISUPK, it is to signify that you have been chosen by the Lord, that you have been elevated in life. You are no longer where you were. You are now blessed and chosen by the Lord. And being blessed and chosen by the Lord it all comes from the cycle, the laws that govern life. When you do right, you get rewarded. You get blessed. But what does the Bible say about getting rewarded and getting blessed? We're going to get that scripture next. To whom much is given, much is required. To be given more stature, more status, more rank, more acknowledgement requires a heavier burden on you, and more is expected of you. That's the law of life. That's also the law of God. Psalm 23 verse 5 is about the day of reckoning. It's about karma turning your way. It's about having your day to shine when you may have spent many, many days in darkness. The life of David is the life of a man governed by God's law. David did good. David did some bad. David's life wasn't a walk in the park. And that his life not being a walk in the park was a result of him being in the system that God established. You understand? There's nothing about the law of God that says every day is going to be a good day. There's nothing about the law, the system that God established for us on this earth is not one of everlasting happiness and joyfulness and peace. No. The path of life that's been set before us is a bumpy, tore up road. It's a difficult road to travel. It's a road that's sometimes full with fear and of doubt and with shame and with, second guessing. But on that road, if you choose righteousness and obedience, if that is your cause, then the effect is going to be you'll survive that road. You'll make it past those bumps. You'll make it past those pitfalls. You'll avoid ending up in the ditch because you chose the right way to travel that road. Well, if you're not choosing that right way, then along that road, when you get afraid, when you get scared, when you're unsure, when you start to doubt, when you start to lack faith, you turn to the left or the right side, and that's where you end up suffering the consequences of your actions. Everybody understands? Let me drop that. Let me get what else I was gonna call for next? What did I say I was gonna call for next? Anoint the head with all karma, good and bad. What did I just say I was gonna call for, y'all? That's what it is. The water, sis, the water. Let me get Luke chapter 12, verse 48. All right. Bear with me. Come. All right, this is Luke chapter 12. Again, let me give you 48. I'm going straight to 48. Matter of fact, let's get Luke 12 and 47. We'll go to 47. And this is the accountability that is required from the Most High. Again, being made in the image of God, He gave us a mind to be able to make decisions for ourselves. He gave us the ability to problem solve. He gave us the ability to be able to reason, why should I do this or why shouldn't I do this? He also, in giving us that type of mind, made us susceptible to being deceived. He made us susceptible to being provoked to go against Him. And in life, your responsibility is to figure out how to get back to the Most High. The path, it exists. It's here. We've got the blueprint on how to get it right. But figuring it out, that's what the Lord requires of you. How you gonna make it happen? That's what the Lord requires of you. You got a mind, you got a brain, figure it out. For those of us, all the time in the truth, we talk about how a lot of us are here, not because we wanted to be here, but because the Lord brought us here. For all of us, almost all of us in the truth, I don't know if I've ever met a brother who didn't say, man, the Lord brought me here. Or the Lord is the reason why I'm here. So all of us share the same testimony or the same, we acknowledge that the path that we took in life to get here was the one that was laid down by the Most High. Well, guess what? That's His law. His law that governs the earth is how you ended up in the truth. But there came a day where you had to make a choice. You had to make a decision. And the decision you made is the reason for everything that's happened in your life after you made that decision. I found the truth, and I heard the truth and I understood it. And I knew that the truth was not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy path for me to walk. I knew that there was going to be some difficulties and some struggles, whether it was because of the things I was learning I didn't fully understand at the time, or maybe it was the men who were teaching me at the time. I'm looking at them like, man, come on, man, this nigga can't be serious. But there was a decision that needed to be made on whether or not I was going to walk this path. And for those of us who have endured and have stood the test and have found ourselves here, know that it is because of at the time in your life where it came for you to use that brain He gave you and to use that mind that can problem solve and to figure things out, to make a decision. You made the right decision. And because you made that right decision, all the things that you faced in your life came your way. And knowing that gives you even more strength and even more power and even more faith to endure the other difficult times that come your way due to the system of life that the Lord has established. It's Luke chapter 12, verse 47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, knowing the Lord's will, is someone who understands the science of life, someone who understands cause and effect, the action and the reaction. Hearing the truth, you know the cause and effect of life. You know what the reaction is going to be to your action. If you choose to serve the Most High, you'll live. If you choose to disobey Him, you'll die. Well, this is about a servant that knew the Lord's will. What's the Lord's will? That you obey Him, that you're righteousness, that you're righteous, that you do what He said to do. Well, there were some who who knew the Lord's will and decided not to obey or prepared not themselves. Middle of verse 47. Neither did according to His will, shall be beaten with many stripes. Why would a servant get beaten? Because they chose not to obey. They chose disobedience. That's the cause, is the disobedience. The effect, stripes. When if you chose to do good, What's waiting for you is a reward. Everybody understands. Verse 48, but he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much of him, they will ask the more. Everybody understands? There are some of us who are unaware of God's law, unaware of the system that governs the way that we live. And the consequences for them are less than the consequences of those who know better and still choose to do wrong. We are in a time now where we are learning to do better. And because of that, we are required to do better. And if we don't do better, then we are choosing to suffer the consequences that come with disobedience. Whether you believe it or not, whether you want to acknowledge or not, those rewards must come. Because the Most High is not one to be mocked. And everything in this earth is going to live by his law one way or another. So you can live by the law by disobeying and dying, or you can live by the law by by obeying and living. Whichever way you choose is up to you. Just know that no matter what, there is no escaping the law which governs life on the earth. With that, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, since 1969, we've been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians the truth. What is the truth? The truth is that God's chosen people descend from the greatest people that ever lived. The truth is that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Brothers and sisters tuning in, we have classes in Memphis, Tennessee, 3000 Walnut Grove Road from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 3000 Walnut Grove Road from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday through Friday. You brothers and sisters come into the truth, learn the truth, and allow it to govern your life. And with that, shalom.